When you look around at modern-day America, one thing that is impossible not to notice is this. We are getting heavier. The obesity epidemic is one of the leading dangers of our times. Not only is the death rate increasing, but the age at which people are affected is getting younger and younger. We are getting children as young as 6 with the condition. In fact, around 20% of 6 to 11-year-olds are now obese. The real question most people want to ask is, how did we get to this position? How have we come to a point where almost 70% of our population is overweight? And it's not just an American problem. Numbers like these are happening all over the world. And with this rise in body mass comes a number of dangers. Type 2 diabetes is going up at an alarming rate, meaning that this incurable disease is affecting far more people than it ever did before. Then there's heart disease, certain types of cancer, and strokes, all of which are much more likely and carry much more threat for anyone overweight. In this video, we will give you a brief overview of how the average American diet has changed in recent history and why it has had such a dramatic effect on our weight. We will then show you how we've taken this information and used it to create a real solution, one that will help anyone who's battling with weight loss. So, let's take a look at what has happened over the last few generations. In the 1950s, the government and scientists were looking back at the first half of the 20th century, and they were trying to find a reason for the increase in the death rate around body weight-related illness. Something had to be done. They needed to find what was responsible for this rise, and the answer they chose was fat. Fat is probably the best way for food to carry flavor. It gives food a better taste, and it also makes it more pleasant to eat because of an improved texture or mouthfeel, as it is called. So when fat became the new enemy, and everyone was clamoring for more and more low-fat products, food manufacturers faced a new problem. How could they give consumers products which tasted good but had a reduced fat content? This is when they turned to refined sugar. Sugar had been used in plenty of foods before, but not in the incredible quantities that were about to come. The demand for low-fat foods in the 60s and 70s was huge, and without sugar, the big food companies would have found it impossible to keep their products tasting good. No fat and no sugar would have meant bland, cardboard-like food which would have had no appeal for the buyers. The sugar had another benefit. It was highly addictive. Modern studies have shown that it is just as addictive as many Class A drugs, such as cocaine. In fact, Dr. Mark Hyman, who's been researching the effect of the sweet stuff on our systems for 20 years, said that some animal studies show that sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. He has written a number of books on the subject. The reason for this addiction is genetic. Sugar is rare in the wild, and its main sources are fruit and honey. Sugar gives the body a big boost in energy, which is very useful if you are a hunter or you have to search for food all day long. So your brain is programmed to like sugar because it is like rocket fuel for someone who is used to eating mainly plants and meat. But there would never be a big supply of it. Bananas, melons, and other fruit wouldn't be available for many months, and beehives were hard to find and, well, painful to collect from. Now that sugar was being refined and added to more and more foods, our bodies were craving it more and more. Eventually, nutritionists realized that sugar was also causing the general population a great deal of damage, both to their teeth and their general health. This should have been obvious, though. A number of scientific tests had proved the dangers of sugar. To give you a brief example, an incident occurred in 1793 when a ship carrying a cargo of sugar was wrecked. The 5 surviving sailors were finally rescued after being marooned for 9 days. They looked terrible. Their bodies had seemingly wasted away due to starvation, having consumed nothing but sugar and rum. The eminent French physiologist F. Magendie was inspired by this to conduct a series of experiments with animals, which he went on to publish in 1816. In the experiments, he fed dogs a diet of sugar or olive oil and water. All the dogs on the sugar diet wasted and died much before those without sugar. First fat and now sugar. What were the big food conglomerates going to do this time? They certainly weren't ready to give up their profits. They would have to find a new way around this problem. And they did. They found 2 solutions, in fact. First of all, there were artificial sweeteners. The most famous of these was probably aspartame, which was discovered in 1974. It took 7 years for it to get approval by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. There is still some controversy over how this was achieved, as laboratory tests had linked it to causing tumors in mice when it was tested. The final approval was made by a man who was funded by G.D. Searle, the company who had discovered aspartame in the first place. The second approach was even more underhand. Now that all food needed to be labeled so consumers could see whether it contained sugar or not, the food companies simply began renaming the various sugars that they added. This still happens to this day. If you pick up a selection of packaged foods from any supermarket, you'll probably be able to find examples of some, if not all of the following ingredients: barley malt, dextrose, ethyl maltol, glucose, high fructose corn syrup, lactose, molasses, sucrose, agave. And these are just a few. There are dozens more. The companies are allowed to do this because the sugars come in slightly different forms, but sugar is sugar. You'll find these ingredients in a huge range of foods, everything from cereals to bread, juices to cheeses. The average American is now eating around 150 pounds of sugar per year, and 80% of that is from the additives in your food. That is a lot. Alright, now here's the thing that most people don't know. This boom in sugar intake has had a serious outcome for many people. They have been overtaken by a parasite. Where did it come from? Did we import it in our food? Did it grow from some artificial additive? No, it's something that has been in our bodies all along. It's called Candida. Candida is a form of yeast that occurs naturally in the body. Why is this a problem then, I hear you ask? Well, just like with many elements of nutrition, it's about balance. You need to even out the good with the bad. You can eat fast food so long as it's not too often, and you make sure to get plenty of exercise. You can have that extra slice of cake once in a while, as long as you're eating plenty of fruit and vegetables. See? Find a balance. Your gut is the same. Doctors recommend that you need a balance of 80% good bacteria to 20% bad bacteria to remain healthy. This is where the sugar and artificial sweeteners come in. The Candida love them, and when they eat them, they multiply. It's just like any other form of yeast. It activates with sugar. When this happens inside you, it puts your bacteria balance out, and then you can begin to have problems. Too much Candida is such a difficult condition to diagnose because there's so many different ways it can affect you. There are many different places on the body it could affect you, and the results may even be unique to one particular person. For this reason, Candida is often misdiagnosed, and the symptom is treated instead of the underlying cause, rather like taking a lozenge for a throat infection. It's come to the point where patients practically have to diagnose themselves. Such is the difficulty in spotting this condition. But the general agreement is that there is a far greater number of people affected by Candida than the few who are diagnosed correctly. If you have too much Candida, you may find yourself suffering from any or all of the following symptoms. Your feeling and energy. For some, this could be an inability to focus or a permanent feeling of fatigue, like you can never seem to sleep enough. This will probably also affect your concentrations. Others may become hyperactive, and some lose their sex drive. Problems with digestion. This is everything from acid reflux or indigestion to diarrhea or constipation. Since these bacteria live mainly in your gut, they are well placed to affect your digestion. Skin. Rashes and itchiness can appear in many places over your body. The most common are in between fingers or on the feet, but it could be anywhere. Eczema and dermatitis are also possible, along with acne. Fungal infections on the nails can also be a sign. The skin can react in many different ways, so pay attention to any changes you notice. Mouth. Bacteria such as Candida can easily affect your mouth and tongue. This can result in bad breath or even halitosis. Thrush could be another symptom, both of the mouth and around sexual organs. Some get an odd metallic taste in the mouth or experience bleeding of the gums. Breathing. Candida imbalance can result in problems with your respiratory system. This could include having a persistent cough, sore throat, or sinus congestion. Some can develop hay fever symptoms, and others can have increased sinusitis or problems with asthma. Eyes. You can become sensitive to bright lights, both from the sun and electric lighting. There can be pain in the eyes or just redness and itchiness. Ears. Ear infections and a slight loss of hearing can be signs of Candida. Also a sensation of ringing in the ears. The immune system. When the immune system is affected, This can give you a whole range of other difficulties. Obviously, there is the possibility that you'll get sick more easily, especially with things like coughs and colds, but there are other issues. Some people develop allergies or sensitivities to certain foods, fragrances, and chemicals. This is not the full list by any means. Since a bacteria imbalance changes the whole system of the body, any part of it can be affected, from headaches to muscle stiffness. Here is the key question then. How do you readdress this excess of Candida? How do you get back to the 80-20 balance of good and bad bacteria that your body needs? Well, first of all, let's hear some simple advice from Dr. William G. Crook. He's one of the leading experts on yeast in the body and author of many books on the subject. In the Yeast Connection Cookbook, which acts as a culinary guide and is full of nutritional information, he writes, "If you want to overcome a yeast-connected health problem, you must change your diet. Yet deciding what to eat and what not to eat isn't easy. The key element that you need in your diet are something called probiotics. These are the live microorganisms that make up the good bacteria in your digestive system. People most commonly associate them with yogurt. In the early 1900s, a Russian scientist named Ilya Mechnikov, who won the Nobel Prize in 1908, discovered that simple yogurt was connected with longevity. Mechnikov, who worked at the Paris-based Pasteur Institute, took statistics from over 35 countries, and he discovered that more people lived to the age of 100 in Bulgaria than in any other. He attributed this to the country's most traditional food, homemade yogurt. Later, numerous scientific studies in Europe, Japan, and the United States proved the bacteria in yogurt helped maintain good health by protecting the human body from toxins, infections, allergies, and some types of cancer. This is the power of probiotics. Recent experts still agree. Dr. Alan Walker, professor of nutrition and pediatrics, Harvard Medical School, says the following: "Evidence from clinical research demonstrates that adding good bacteria to the diet promotes a healthy digestive and immune system." But before you go running to the supermarket to fill your basket with yogurt, let me stop you. Modern yogurt has two problems. One is that it's pasteurized, which means it's heated to a certain temperature to kill off harmful bacteria. This is done to make it last longer. Unfortunately, it also kills off the good bacteria. The second thing is, guess what most modern yogurts are full of? You've got it, our old friend, Mr. Sugar. Fortunately, yogurt is not the only source of probiotics. It can also be found in sauerkraut, olives, and fermented vegetables such as pickles. Some Asian dishes are good sources of probiotics, like kimchi and miso soup. It's also found in poi, a dough-like substance made from mashed taro root that is a staple of the Hawaiian diet. Host of the Dr. Oz Show, Mehmet Oz, MD, and Mike Roizen, MD, Chief Medical Officer at the Cleveland Clinic Wellness Institute, have said that taking probiotics twice a day for 6 months helps kids chase away cold symptoms. When given the probiotic Acidophilus NCFM, children had 53% fewer fevers, 28% fewer runny noses, and 41% fewer coughing spells compared with kids getting a placebo. If they did get sick, recovery time was cut by a third. But let's be realistic. Is anyone really going to live off sauerkraut and olives while avoiding all those other high-sugar foods out there? That really is a lot to ask, especially given the addictive qualities of sugar we've discussed. There needs to be a compromise. That is why we've created Probiotic Cleanse. Take one of our specially formulated capsules once per day after a meal. Avoid consuming anything too hot or too cold at the same time, as the microorganisms need to be alive and temperatures which are too extreme can kill them off. This is not a quick fix, and you need to try to maintain a regular dose, as if you miss one, you're giving the Candida a chance to regroup. Some of our customers start to really feel the benefit after about a month. For some, it is longer, since it takes time to readdress the balance of bacteria that a high-sugar diet has been affecting all these years. You should try to watch your sugar intake and eat as much all-natural food as possible, but you can indulge a little from time to time with a slice of pizza or a donut. As always, balance is the key. So, what exactly is in a probiotic cleanse capsule? Well, the most important thing is that they contain 37.5 billion colony-forming units per capsule. This is a combination of 14 unique strains of bacteria, including superstrains Lactobacillus acidophilus and Bifidobacterium. These have been strategically engineered to withstand stomach acids and bile, populating your entire GI tract. And because the last thing we want to give your body is something else it can't process, everything is gluten-free, lactose-free, and completely allergen-free. What's more, because we are dealing with bacteria, some other probiotics can cause bad breath. Since our aim was always to provide a solution that fitted in with modern living, nutritionally, economically, and socially, we have ensured that this capsule won't cause bad breath. You can take it as you would any vitamin pill. As we just mentioned, we wanted this probiotic to be usable by everyone, which is why we've pushed to keep the price so low. We've chosen to sell exclusively online so that we can avoid the added markup that stores need to put on it. It is available for just $39.99 for a 1-month supply. This is covered by an ironclad 90-day money-back guarantee. All we ask is that you follow the instructions correctly and use it for at least a full month to allow time for your good and bad bacteria levels to get back to that magic 80-20 level. Because we want everyone to get results, if you feel it hasn't worked for you, just send back the empty carton and we will refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, Candida could be the cause of a wide range of issues, so if you're suffering from fatigue or loss of concentration, irritable bowel syndrome or other digestive disorders, skin rash and irritation, low sex drive, low energy, obesity, lack of sleep, then our Probiotic Cleanse could be exactly what you need to rebalance the bacteria in your gut and to help you feel 100% again. Our customers have reported feeling a new surge in energy when going about their daily lives. They've also found they are sick less, and if they do get ill, they recover noticeably more quickly. Now here's a final thought. Did you know that all those Candida currently in your gut are controlling what you eat? It's true. Because they thrive on sugar and sweeteners, they are pushing your body to crave more of them. This is why it can be so hard to maintain a healthy weight, because even if your diet is successful, those same old cravings will undo all of the good work. But when you have the right balance of bacteria, you are back in control of the cravings and you will find it easier to keep eating healthily. With our money-back guarantee, we hope everyone will try for themselves, completely risk-free. Just click the link below